I had spent months designing and building the perfect fence around my property. It wasn't just a decorative addition. It was a vital barrier that protected my land, my lake, and the surrounding community from wildlife, particularly bears that had been spotted wandering the area in recent weeks. The fence was tall, sturdy, and strategically placed along the perimeter, blending functionality with an aesthetic that complemented the ranch. Naturally, HOA Karen had a problem with it. She had complained at every HOA meeting that the fence was ugly, insisting that it needed to be torn down immediately. I ignored her, knowing that her definition of ugly was subjective at best and dangerously nonsensical at worst. Then, one early morning, I awoke to a deafening roar. Lights, machinery, and the unmistakable sound of chainsaws shattered the dawn's quiet. I raced outside, heart pounding, to see a full demolition crew moving toward my fence like they were on a military operation. Karen was at the helm, yelling over the engines and waving papers she claimed gave her authority. I didn't panic. I whistled sharply, the signal that had trained my K9S for years. Within seconds, Titan, Max, and the rest of the squad were in position, forming a protective barrier between the demolition crew and my property. Their synchronized growls reverberated across the ranch, low and threatening, yet perfectly controlled. Karen faltered as she watched my dog's information, the reality of what she had done finally dawning on her. "You can't do this," she shrieked, attempting to assert control over the crew. "Tear it down. Now." The crew hesitated, eyes flicking between me and my K9S. Every instinct told them that proceeding would be a very bad idea. Titan stepped closer, muscles coiled, teeth glinting in the early sunlight. Another dog, Max, growled softly but deliberately, a warning that action would have consequences. Karen's face twisted with rage and disbelief. "It's just a fence. Just a fence," she screamed. I crossed the lawn calmly, my boots crunching on gravel. "It's more than a fence," I said. "It's a barrier against bears. It protects not only my property but the entire community from danger. You have no right to touch it." Karen tried to argue, waving her phone and calling imaginary higher authorities, but the sound of Titan's growl cut through her words. My K9S flanked her, forming an unmistakable line of defense. She froze, the realization setting in. She was outmatched, outnumbered, and completely powerless. Minutes passed like hours as Karen and the crew tried to figure out what to do. My dogs didn't need to bite. They didn't even need to move. Their presence alone was enough to assert dominance. Finally, the demolition crew backed down, mumbling apologies, clearly shaken. Karen stomped off, fuming, her plan in ruins. As I surveyed the fence, the morning sun glinting off the freshly painted rails, I felt a quiet satisfaction. The bears would stay out, my property remained secure, and Karen had learned, once again, that recklessness and arrogance had consequences. Later, when the neighbors started trickling in after witnessing the spectacle, they offered quiet nods of appreciation. One elderly woman whispered, "If it weren't for your dogs, that fence would be gone, and who knows what might have happened." I leaned back on the porch, Titan resting his massive head on my knee, Max sitting alertly at my side. Karen would be back with another scheme. She always was, but this morning, she had learned a lesson in humility, and the fence stood tall, unshakable, and victorious. Lesson reinforced. Never underestimate a rancher with a strong fence, loyal K9S, and zero tolerance for HOA nonsense. And never, ever try to demolish property that protects the community. You might just find yourself facing a wall of teeth and authority.